Hello, thank you for joining us. We will begin shortly. Today's speakers are Mr. Gil Shalit, a transposition consultant, and me, your moderator. My name is Daffy Gonen. I'm Vice President of Project Management. Let's go over some basics. Please make sure all your phones have been muted. Kindly use the questions panel if you have any questions along the presentation. There will be 4 short poll questions. Poll results will be available on our website shortly after the webinar. This webinar is being recorded. So what do we have for you today? We'll talk about Gizmo's transposition. We'll talk about the application modernization challenge. Why not choose traditional solutions? What is transposition? We have a demo and proof of concept ready for you. And of course, where do I sign up? And here's time for the first poll question. Ready? Here goes. How would you define the organization you work for? A system integrator. B, an independent software vendor. C, I am self-employed in the software industry. Please take a moment and place your answers now. Thank you. At the beginning of time, IBM mainframe was displaced by Microsoft PC. Years later, Microsoft PC brought forth computing everywhere. The post-PC era introduced ARM operating systems and its relatives. The HTML5 browsers that make huge steps towards an operating system in the browser, web, mobile, and cloud. Hundreds and hundreds of billions of lines of code that were written for old platforms can no longer be run as is on the new platforms, and should now be transformed to the new reigning king of the post-PC era. This is why we invented the digital application rewriter. So, who are your hosts for this webinar? As technology advances, Microsoft in particular, new software platforms render legacy applications useless, making them a burden on your company's business model. As global corporations such as Microsoft continues to advance their software and products, while support for older versions and platforms become hard to come by or impractical to maintain. Although Transposition's approach is generic, we are starting with Microsoft technologies for which we see the most pressing need. We are replacing the rewrite process that requires years of work and millions in budget expenses with an industrialized way to transform applications. And it works. Although we are new to the market, we have already transposed several millions of lines of code for small and large organizations. Hey, time for poll question number 2. What type of technology does the organization use? A, Microsoft Visual Basic. B, other Microsoft desktop like VB.NET or C#. C, Microsoft Classic ASP. D, Java-based technologies. Please take a moment and place your answers now. Thank you. So, why do we need a modernized application? Why did it become such a risky and costly adventure? Why do organizations spend hundreds of billions of dollars every year on application modernization? We will try and answer these questions in the next few minutes. It might be the largest, most significant shift in the history of IT, and it's happening fast. Only a few years since the introduction of HTML5, cloud, and mobile, Gartner sees these technologies take front and center in becoming mainstream among enterprises. Computing everywhere is the top priority for organizations cross size and verticals. Yet one of its main roadblocks is legacy applications. And here lays the challenge. Almost half your applications do not comply. Many enterprises are facing significant challenges as a result of their legacy desktop client server and outdated web apps. The less than decade-long transition from PC to cloud, web, and mobile has led to a significant gap that must be bridged. Once support is no longer provided for older systems and platforms, security features become outdated, thus leaving companies vulnerable for breaches. Applications relying on specific outdated components or features that are no longer available may even cease working entirely. And it's not even a matter of the application's age, as we can see in NASCIO research with CIOs. It's a matter of compliance with new platforms. If we define legacy application this way, then ask yourself, how many of those non-compliant applications do you have in your organization? What would it take to make them compliant with new platforms? What is the scope of the challenge? Well, whatever the challenge is, it certainly is not translating the code into a new language. It's kind of a transformation. From the same NASCIO research, we see that once looking deeper, it becomes evident that it's more than just translating the code. It's actually re-engineering the application to be compliant with new platforms such as cloud and mobile. Another strain that rises from researchers, this time from Meritop research, is the cost of inaction. The risks of remaining analog in a digitalized world are continuously rising. Most of the processes in your organizations are already being digitized. Organizations that choose to maintain outdated legacy applications and code face increasingly challenging conditions while limiting their ability to expand and compete. Incompatibility with new operating systems and server infrastructure translates into extended maintenance and support fees. Finally, complicated software lifecycle management incurs additional costs. All those add up to an overall inefficient, expensive business and operational model. Researchers show that maintenance cost of those legacy applications alone climbs to $100 billion a year. And from the same researchers, we see that CIOs are not only aware of the cost of inaction, but they also understand the risk in running legacy applications. They understand that, yet they run a critically operational risk. Why are they not acting? The figures speak for themselves. Lack of budget, lack of skilled human resource. On the other hand, it is that very old cat, the one that watches the cream, is also the one that consults you. The very one that has the biggest interest in keeping the situation as is. The very one that prices the modernization of those applications in most cases on time and material basis. So by now, we are pretty sure you do not want to keep your legacy apps just because you love them or you find it hard to part from them. But even if it was that case, even love has its limits. That is usually when one says, if it wasn't invented, someone had to invent it. Good thing we did. The game is about to change. So, what would you do once you cannot put up anymore with your legacy apps and you must take a step forward and start modernizing? What would be the traditional approach? Basically, you would do one of the following. You would rewrite the app, which is a method we call white box, because it's kind of an open box. You refactor your code and re-engineer your legacy app. Or you would choose to use one of those automatic tools, which are basically code translators or emulators, in which you have a code in and code out without the ability to refactor or customize. Or you would use app virtualization to deliver your legacy apps to multiple users, which is also a black box approach, because you cannot customize or refactor user experience. Your last resolution could be off-the-shelf application, again a black box approach. Because of customization limitations, those would be one of your traditional choices. Well, guess what? For the first time in history, you have a third choice. One that combines the best of all approaches, white and black box approaches. Flexibility of rewrite, speed and accuracy of smart machine. Transposition combined source-to-source compilation technology with pioneering development environment that simplifies and accelerates the process of re-engineering legacy apps at code level to modernize .NET and HTML5 open standards. And now, in more detail. It is a very simple math. Allow me to walk you through from top left to bottom right. Researchers suggest that there are incompatible 150 billion to 200 billion legacy lines of code. According to researchers, a developer rewrites at a pace of around 100 lines of code per day. Some say 30, some say 60, some say more, about 150, but an average over 100. There are 11 million professional developers in the world. Most of them, around 70%, are busy up to their necks with existing application maintenance. And the rest? Well, the rest are busy writing new applications for new needs. Now, let's assume that you could spare somehow 100,000 skilled developers to reverse engineer and manually rewrite your legacy apps that were written and upgraded once and again for the last, say, 30 years. At a pace of 100 lines a day, they would rewrite 2 million lines per year. Well, what would it take to rewrite 200 billion lines? That would take 100 years. In 100 years, the computing generation will change 10 more times. With Gizmo transposition, thousands of lines a day, 200 billion, would take roughly 2 to 3 years. Enough time to get ready to shift to the next generation platform. And just for demonstration, if $100 billion is spent every year worldwide on legacy maintenance with around 8 million developers, for 2 years maintenance spending, Gizmo transposition could transpose most of your legacy apps to shiny cloud, web, and mobile. Ready for poll question number 3? Let's go. What is your organization's application strategy? A. Upgrade to a new Microsoft operating system. B. Shift from desktop application to web and mobile. C. Transform applications to cloud. D. Shift to Java-based technologies. Or E. Have yet to decide on a strategy. Please place your answers now. Thank you. And now, for the cool part of this presentation, let's get the show on the road. Can we really prove what we say? I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Gil Shalit, Senior Transposition Consultant, who will have to deliver on all the promises I made. And with an open hood, now you can taste the magic. Gil, all yours.
Thank you, Duffy. Transposition Studio is the answer for a high-quality .NET solution on Windows desktop and on the web, including a full mobile experience while preserving your investment in business rules and logic. Our experience shows that transposition allows a path to modernization that is 10 times better, faster, and cheaper than that of competing methods. When we talk about other methods, we mostly talk about automatic tools, about manual rewrite, and about virtualization solutions. In the demo, we will mostly talk about the comparison between transposition to a manual rewrite, but the comparison with automatic tools and with virtualization is on the slides, and in more detail in the white paper we have on our site. Let's take a look at the process, starting with a straight transposition of a VB6 application with a form and several modules. So, Transposition Studio is here, the VB6 application is here. Let's quickly start the transposition process, and while that is going on in the background, go back to the VB6 application. You can see when running that this is a simple data-centric application with add, update, and delete operations. Going back to the tool, when the code was loaded, it was parsed, and the code model, or AST, i.e. abstract semantic tree of the code, was built. And this will now be used to drive all of the transposition phases, as we will see a little bit later in the demo. What we will attempt to show, you see it is now opening in Visual Studio. We will attempt to show this VB6 application being transposed to a .NET-based application, both an ASP.NET MVC application, including a mobile experience, and to a WinForms-based application with an identical UI to that of the VB6 application. We will now run this .NET solution as a web application in the Chrome browser. So, running in Google Chrome on the local server in live. And we can see the VB6 application, which is over here. You can see the original and the web application. We can go make a change to change Ruth to Miriam and save and a quick update. And we have a web application that can update and display data. But let's go another stage and create another tab as a new window. And let's use the Chrome emulator. And we want to view the web application as a Google Nexus 5 Android phone, copying the URL and refreshing. And now we see the same URL, the same data, the same server, but with a mobile view. And this can even be swiped to the left, and we see the details, and back. Any click also shows us the details. So this is a true mobile experience. If we want now to change, let's pick another one, Hoyt, go and update his name to Jack and save. And if we update, so we can see that Hoyt has become Jack. But what's more, we can go and update the regular view of the data, and also here Hoyt has become Jack, because this is one web application with a regular web view and a mobile enabled web view. So your VB6 application can become a true web application with a very good and standards-based mobile experience. Because the transposed application is a standard ASP.NET MVC application, all that was needed to add the mobile experience was adding an additional view in the views directory. So this is the standard one, and this is the one that we added for Android. And the other step that is required is adding a display mode provider. Let's expand this. So there's a display mode provider for desktop and for iPhone and for Android. And this is what allows us, because we use a standards-based MVC application, to make these refactoring operations very easily, extremely quickly. Unlike a manual rewrite, transposition does not require reverse engineering. What might take long months during a rewrite and require a high level of customer participation is achieved by the Gizmox transposition assessment that collects relevant information about the application and prepares all the information needed for the transposition process, including an estimation for the fixed price and timeline of the process. The assessment wizard runs on a development machine, analyzes the application and all of its dependencies, and calculates the level of complexity that transposing the application to a given target will pose. We can select the source and the target of the transposition, select the location of the application to be analyzed. We can then go to HTML5 or Windows Forms. Let's stick with HTML5. Enter some relevant information. The result of the assessment is the assessment report with quite a bit of relevant information. For example, the level of custom rules and standard rules that need to be part of the transposition. Advanced assessment uses complete code understanding for a context-aware analysis of various factors, such as static members, which are a challenge when migrating to a web application because of the need to preserve the application state during sessions and in some cases between sessions. Transposition Studio automatically moves those members to application or user level thread-safe storage. So here we can see a query that is run to identify all of the static members. Modal forms and dialogues present a challenge when migrating to a web application. To preserve the asynchronous mode of web operation, the code after the call to a modal display command should be moved to a callback function. The identification of the precise call chains is a complex task, done automatically by Transposition Studio. The first query result has showed a message box call in prompt to continue. Clicking it takes us to the actual code, as you can see, and a right click allows us to examine the call graph to the prompt to continue function. When these come up, we can see that the 3 additional functions before prompt to continue require moving the code after the call to the next function to a callback function. Circular references are made possible in VB6 because of late binding. Late binding is removed when transposing to .NET, WinForms or ASP.NET, and circular references need to be dealt with by extracting the interfaces of the objects that take part in circular reference path. Here we can see the identification, automatic identification of circular references. Transposition Studio provides a machine-guided path to modernization. The complete code understanding capabilities allow a very quick process by which the tool makes automatic changes and suggests changes to the user, which can be implemented across the board and are repeatable with later code drops so that the process is kept error-free. Let's step back into the tool. Sorry. Here we see that when the project was first loaded, the original VB6 code used objects, variants actually. Obviously, we don't want objects in the .NET code, so the tool is smart enough to suggest by smart tag what these objects should be. So the way it does it is by actually looking at all the ways this object is used. So you can see it's quite clear when there is complete code understanding to see that this object is actually a connection object, and this object it suggests to type as a command, and so forth. So the way we can apply these is either directly by going to the properties window and accepting the suggestions. So we'll type connection, and we'll select this one because this is actually what it is, and we'll go to save, and we see the preview, which is another feature keeping us from making mistakes. We see where this change is going to applied across the application. In this case, only at this one location, but this is quite a powerful feature in larger projects. We go to apply, and this has been changed to a connection object. We can also accept the suggestion directly and accept this change to the command, and this will be changed to again to the record set with a preview and apply. Another way to create a rule that will then be applied by the tool is by using the code fragment feature. So let's just search for this guy. And we want to make a change. This is a very specific VB6 code, and we want to make a change to map it to different code. We'll use the template and we'll call it contemplate, and select next. Now we'll create variables for the template, and another one, and the whole connection string as another variable, and go to next. And now we'll replace this pattern by, let's assume we have a connection factory object, and it has a member called get connection string, and we'll pass the parameter to it, and click next. And again, we have the preview to show us where this will make will be effective. Go to apply, and now when we hover over this, we see the original pattern and the template. But will my migrated code be maintainable? This is a question high on the minds of those considering a migration. Many automatic solutions produce code that is very difficult to maintain and continue development on. An application written from scratch will hopefully follow standards and be maintainable, but because it is new, it will be unrecognizable to existing staff. Here again, Transposition provides the best of both worlds in that the migrated application will be written with .NET best practices, but will preserve the code blocks, procedures, and classes that embody the organization's business logic. So let's take a look in Visual Studio. Here we can see the standard MVC paradigm with the model, a controller, with standard event procedures, and as we've discussed, two views, one for the desktop web view and one for the mobile view. A special challenge is created when moving away from rapid application development tools such as VB6 to an ASP.NET MVC application. This is because the standard ASP.NET MVC application has a very limited graphical designer, which makes maintenance and redevelopment difficult, especially for VB6 developers. To help make the transition to the MVC web application world, Gizmox has developed an add-on to Visual Studio, which implements a graphical preview for those the view markup. As you can see on your screen, we can make changes to the controllers, and these will be reflected when updated in the preview surface. We can also find the name of controls by clicking them, and for example, this guy here, we can change the top to 34 points and see the control moving upwards. These changes obviously will be reflected in the compiled and running web application. So the bottom line is that Gizmox Transposition Studio will create a standards-based .NET solution that is easily maintainable while incorporating all business rules and logic. Okay, and now back to Duffy.
Thank you, Gil. Last but not least, our fourth poll question. Would you download and run our free assessment wizard? A. Sure, I have relevant applications. B. Probably not. Not sure I have relevant applications. C. Maybe in the future when I have relevant applications. Please place your answers now. Thank you. So we have some time now to answer some of the great questions you sent us during the webinar. I'm not sure I'm going to have a chance to answer all of it now, but please keep them coming. We'll collect all your answers after the webinar and post it along with our answers on our blog. Now, to help me answer your questions, we have a surprise guest, our very own founder and president, Mr. Navot Peled. Let's start. You asked if we can please specify the source and target technologies that you support.
Well, transposition is a generic concept and a generic solution. It's a matter of what existing and what custom rules we have. So at the moment, we have started with Microsoft versions, old Windows versions like VB6, VB.NET, and others, which we have rules for. In the future, we will be moving into other targets.
Next question was, what about cloud and scale up and down? And that is a very good question.
Yes, basically transposition enables re-architecting and re-engineering the application, so it's a matter of defining the target. If the target is cloud, the application is re-engineered to be able to scale down and up on each of the clouds.
Let's see here. You asked about a pricing module.
Well, pricing is per line of code, which is the common diameter in the market. That's how analysts analyzes application cost and resources. So basically, the business model is per line of code. And then the price varies between the different sources and the different targets. So just to give an example, if we speak about VB6 to VB.NET, which is a natural, I would say, transformation, then we would speak about the lower price range, which is around 40-60 cents. If we speak about HTML5, we would be speaking about the higher range, which is around $1.50 to $2 per line of code.
Question. Can I get the tool and do my own application reengineering?
Yes, you can get, we have two basic engagement models. One is what we call TS only, which is transposition only. So on this engagement model, we would do only the code translation and transformation, which is transposition, of course. The customer would get a code and complete the work. Another way of engagement would be complete a project, which is turnkey. In this case, we would get a code and then deliver the deployable application.
Another question was, yeah, here it is. So what is Gizmo's modular offering?
So the modularity is a choice that the customer can do from the offering that I have described in the other question. So it's either high involvement of the customer and the customer takes most of the load, or Gizmo's provide an application which is deployable, ready for testing on a turnkey kind of offering.
Next question. Let's see. Just to get a sense of time frame, what would it take to transfer about 500,000 lines of code of VB.NET to HTML5, a form factor refactor into mobile? Wow, you shoot high.
So just to give some kind of an idea, I would say that 500,000 lines of code, which is a medium-sized application, would take weeks. And when I'm saying weeks, it would be between 6 to 8 weeks in order to transform the application.
Okay, another question. This one, yeah, here's a good one. People say that quality of code you get from such automated code transformations is not good enough and hard to maintain. What would you say about that?
Yeah, that's basically what the transposition concept is changing in the market. So if we speak about a game changer, I would say that there were trials, as all of us know, in the market to get such a tool. Most of those trials have failed. So we have taken a different approach with transposition, and transposition really re-engineers the application rather than doing code translation. So if we speak about an automatic tools, you would be speaking about tools that are predefined, pre-configured to do a I would say, planned kind of code and architecture translation. And if we speak about transposition, transposition is all about re-engineering, re-architecting the application in a way that it reassembles it in the target environment as if it was written from scratch. So this is the big difference.
Let's see, what else we have here. So you say that you do fast POCs. And what do we get as a POC?
So in most cases, we would get a module of your application, which would be between 10,000 to 30,000 lines of code. We would do a full transposition cycle on this piece of code, and then you get a deployable application which you can test, see the architecture, and really judge for yourself regarding the quality of the code.
Okay, we have time, I think, for two more. Let's do this. What about that code in your legacy application?
So I would say that when we look at a legacy application that was written over the years, layers after layers, and upgrade after upgrade, we should expect dead code. In most cases, we would find layers of dead code. And this is one of the, I would say, outstanding feature or unique feature of the transposition, which is locating this code, defining this code, and being able to automatically eliminate this code.
Okay. Okay. Last question for now. How do you know which target components I would like to implement in a transposed application?
So you would always go through a process in which we analyze the application. We call this phase analysis phase. At the end of this phase, we would have a report or kind of a transposition plan which is agreed with the customer. So when we analyze the gaps and we analyze the opportunities, I would say, in the target environment, we also kind of review the possibilities when we talk about components. So it could be a choice of component which we would recommend and the customer would choose at the end of the day. And only after that we have a transposition plan, which is an agreed plan, and we know what we have on the source and what target we aim at.
Thank you. So as our time is almost up, why don't we do a quick recap of what we covered today? We said that no doubt that application modernization needs innovation. Modernizing millions of lines of code per year by manual work and system integrators is not feasible, too expensive, too risky, and simply takes too long. Gizmox presents one of the leading innovations in this field, a fast, cost-efficient, machine-guided replacement to risky and costly rewrite, a digital application rewriter, one that is a game changer. And it just works. As the saying goes, our approach is battlefield proven. It expedites the reengineering process by at least 10 times, and it's easy for you to try. Just run a free assessment wizard and let us prove it to you by a proof of concept that can get you up to the cloud and mobile faster and cheaper than you thought. And that's pretty much all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Goodbye.